welcome back to Weight Loss Without the BS, where we ditch the nonsense and help you find a sane, balanced way to eat and feel amazing in your body. I'm Caroline Tricky, dietitian and eating psychology coach, and today I want to dive into a pretty hot topic. Is sugar addictive? So this question has come up a lot lately from clients, from random conversations I overheard at the park, and from the endless claims that sugar is as addictive as cocaine. And maybe you felt this yourself, that you just can't stop eating sweets or cakes or biscuits, that sugar has some kind of power over you, and you wondered if you could be addicted to sugar. So there's a lot of misinformation out there, especially when it comes to sugar, a lot of myths. So I really want to set the record straight because you deserve to know the truth. Now, when I say sugar today, I'm referring to table sugar. So the sugar that you add, say, to tea or coffee, or that you use when you're cooking. Because there's not just one type of sugar. There's actually many different types of sugar or sugars. But what we're discussing today is what I would sort of refer to as table sugar. So where does this idea about sugar being addictive come from? Well, it started when researchers scanned people's brains while they ate sugar and saw their reward pathways light up. So from there, the conclusion was made, sugar is addictive. But it's actually not that simple. Thing is, we all have built-in reward pathways in our brains, kind of like an internal feel-good system. And these pathways are designed to keep us alive and thriving as a species by making essential activities like eating, socializing, and even moving our bodies feel good. And here is how they work. When you do something pleasurable or beneficial, like eating a delicious meal, getting a hug, or laughing with a friend, your brain releases chemicals like dopamine. This creates a sense of reward, making you more likely to repeat the behavior in the future. Think of it like your brain saying, or giving you a little high five and saying, yeah, do that again. This system is not a sign of addiction. It's actually just simply how we're wired for survival. It makes eating pleasurable, so we'll do it again. And without this system, we wouldn't be motivated to eat, connect with others, or engage in the activities that keep us healthy and happy. So when those reward pathways light up as you eat sugar, it's just your brain responding normally to a pleasurable experience, nothing more. This is very different from how drugs like cocaine hijack those pathways. Cocaine forces its way into the system, overriding the natural balance. The idea that if sugar lights up your brain, you must be addicted is a misinterpretation of what's really happening. That is not at all what it's saying. What you're seeing is simply a normal response in the brain. So bottom line, and what you need to know is that there is no scientific evidence at this time to support the notion that sugar is addictive. So sugar is not physiologically addicting. But, and this bit is pretty important, if you feel totally out of control when you eat sugary foods, that experience is very real. And it's worth exploring why that might be happening. So why does it feel like you can't stop once you start eating sugar? Well, there are two big reasons, and neither of them has anything to do with sugar being addictive. So first up, hunger. So sometimes you're just straight up hungry but don't realize it until you start eating, and then boom, you can't stop. Your body's basically like, finally, fuel, and it goes all in. And if this sounds familiar, it just might mean that you need to eat more satisfying meals and not go too long between eating. Because when you're overly hungry, sugar provides your body with a quick source of energy, and it can feel like the answer to everything. Now, the more likely reason why sugar feels so hard to stop eating, and that is restriction. So maybe you're trying to cut back, eat without guilt, or you're following some rule about sugar being bad. Diet culture has drilled into us that certain foods are dangerous, which makes us feel addicted to them the moment we eat them. But guess what? It's actually restriction that's fueling the problem. Ever notice that the second you tell yourself you can't have something, it's all you can think about? It's like someone saying, don't push that red button, and suddenly pressing the red button is the only thing that matters. When you label sugar as off limits, your brain cranks up the desire, and when you do eat it, you're way more likely to go all in because, hey, who knows when you'll let yourself have it again. That's not addiction, that's a classic deprivation backlash. Restriction also creates a scarcity mindset. So if you believe sugar is bad and shouldn't be eaten, every time you do have it, it can feel like your only chance. So you eat more than you actually want, not because sugar is some magical addictive substance, but because you've built it up as something rare and forbidden. A lot of the sugar addiction talk comes from studies on rats that were restricted from food and then lost their minds when they finally got sugar. But here's the kicker. When rats have normal access to food, they don't binge on sugar. They eat it in moderation, just like humans can when they're not stuck in a cycle of restriction. And this is exactly why I wanted to talk about this today, because I see so many people thinking they need to eliminate sugar completely. But calling sugar addictive is actually creating the problem. If you believe the only way to control sugar is to cut it out entirely, what happens? You start craving it more, and when you finally give in, it's easy to spiral, eating way more than you wanted, feeling guilty, and then deciding you need even stricter rules. And the cycle continues. This is also why diets fail. The more we tell ourselves we can't have something, the more we want it. That's just human nature. And when we swing between extremes, cutting sugar out, then binging on it, we convince ourselves it has control over us, but it doesn't. Restriction is the real problem. So stop banning sugar and you might just find that it loses its power over you. But this conversation wouldn't be complete if we didn't talk about UPFs. Okay, that's not some new alien species invading Earth. UPFs, or ultra-processed foods, are the real culprits when it comes to feeling hooked on food. Okay, now you may be thinking, but aren't UPFs just foods with sugar in them? Nope, not at all. The problem isn't sugar alone, it's how food companies combine sugar, fat, salt, and a bunch of other additives to hijack your brain's dopamine system. It's kind of like how a casino is designed to keep you playing. Blinking lights, exciting sounds, just the right amount of wins to keep you hooked. Ultra-processed foods work the same way, tricking your taste buds and your brain into saying, more, please. Ever notice that no one binge eats plain sugar straight from the packet? You don't see people ripping open those little cafe sugar sachets and tipping them down their throats like they're doing tequila shots. But mix that sugar with fat and salt, game over. Ice cream, donuts, chips, crisps, cheesy crackers. These foods are engineered to make you crave more. And here's the thing, food companies know exactly what they are doing. They've spent millions researching the perfect bliss point, that magic ratio of sugar, fat, and salt that makes a food practically impossible to resist. It's why once you pop, you can't stop. It's why that bag of chips you swore you'd just have a few from suddenly disappears. It's not your lack of willpower. It's literally designed to override your hunger and fullness signals. Now here's the important distinction. This is not the same as addiction. Yes, these foods light up your brain's reward system, kind of like drugs do, but the effect isn't nearly as strong. You won't see someone going through withdrawal symptoms because they ran out of biscuits. No one is stealing their mate's wallet to fund a Tim Tam habit. But these foods do make it harder to stop eating because they're so damn delicious. And they interfere with your body's natural ability to say, okay, I've had enough now. And this is where people get stuck in the UPF cycle. So you eat the highly palatable food, your brain goes, wow, that was amazing, let's do that again. Because it doesn't fill you up properly, thanks to a lack of protein, fiber, and, well, actual nutrients, you get hungry again quickly. You crave more of the same thing because it gave you a big dopamine hit. You eat more, feel bloated or sluggish, maybe frustrated, and tell yourself, that's it, I'm done. And then a few hours or days later, hello cravings, and the cycle repeats. That's because these foods aren't just about taste, they're about how they make you feel. The brain loves fast, easy pleasure, and UPFs give it exactly that. So what's the solution? Do we just swear off UPFs forever? Well, you can if you want to, but remember, restriction often just fuels the problem. The real key here is awareness, and the best way to increase awareness is to start by slowing down. So instead of standing in the pantry and eating them straight out of the packet, which UPF manufacturers want you to do, by the way, put some in a bowl, seal up the packet, put it back in the cupboard, and sit down at the table to eat, doing your best to avoid distractions like watching TV or scrolling on your phone. This will help slow down your consumption and make you more mindful. Then, when you eat, notice how they make you feel. So when you eat something ultra-processed, pause for a second. How do you feel afterwards? Energized and satisfied, or sluggish and still hungry? Most UPFs leave you wanting more rather than feeling nourished. So just tuning into that can help you make more mindful choices. So you're probably less likely to eat them as often when you notice how they leave you feeling. And finally, remember, you're the one in charge, not the food. Sure, UPFs are designed to be ridiculously moreish, but they don't have some magical power over you. They're not out there controlling your arms and legs, physically making you pick them up and eat them. That is you doing that. And owning that is actually a good thing because it means you also have the power to choose differently when you want to. The more you understand how these foods are engineered to keep you coming back for more, the easier it gets to make choices that actually feel good. Choices that leave you in control rather than feeling like food is running the show. So next time you catch yourself elbow deep in a bag of chips, don't go straight to guilt. Instead, get curious. What got me eating in the first place? Why do I want to keep going? Do I actually even want more, or am I just on autopilot? Curiosity, not judgment, is the key to changing your relationship with food. And the quality of your life comes down to the quality of the questions you ask. The more you pause and reflect, the more you'll learn to eat in a way that truly works for you. And if you ever need a little guidance, reach out because I would love to help you. So that's what I have for you today. I really hope you found this episode super helpful and inspiring. And if you did, make sure to hit subscribe and leave a glowing review. I'd be ever so grateful. It helps others also find the podcast more easily. And if you're ready to start making real sustainable changes, come join me in my 5-day conscious eating challenge. It's a simple, powerful way to get started, and I'd love to see you there. Pop on over to carolinetricky.com to find out all about it. Have a fabulous week, and I'll catch you next time on Weight Loss Without the BS.